November 21, 2014. Tenants at Building 12 of the Midgrove Public Housing Complex in Trenton, New Jersey, complained for weeks about a rotten smell coming from the basement laundry room. Maintenance was delayed due to staffing shortages. Detective Elaine Mercer hated the smell of death. In 16 years with the Trenton Police Department, she'd never gotten used to it, that distinctive odor that seemed to cling to your clothes long after you'd left the scene. She pulled the collar of her coat tighter around her neck as she descended the concrete stairs into the basement of Building 12. "How long has it been like this?" she asked the maintenance supervisor who trailed nervously behind her. "Complaint started about 3 weeks ago." The man, whose name tag read Wilson, kept a respectful distance. "But you know how it is with city budgets. We're down 4 people. Nobody was available to check until yesterday. And nobody thought a smell this bad warranted immediate attention." Mercer's voice carried an edge. The stench grew stronger with each step. Wilson wiped sweat from his brow despite the basement's chill. "Look, this isn't exactly the Ritz. Pipes burst, garbage backs up. Bad smells happen all the time." The basement was poorly lit, a maze of storage units and utility rooms. Water stains mapped the ceiling, and exposed pipes ran in every direction. Mercer followed Wilson to the back corner where a rusted metal storage cabinet stood. Its doors were flung open now, but the heavy-duty padlock that had secured it lay on the floor. "That's where we found her," Wilson said, his voice dropping to a whisper. Crime scene technicians had already removed the body, but they were still processing the area. A young officer stood beside the cabinet, looking slightly green. "First DB?" Mercer asked him, not unkindly. "Yes, ma'am." He swallowed hard. "And in a cabinet, of all places." Mercer peered inside. The space was narrow but deep. A blue plastic tarp lay crumpled at the bottom, stained dark in places. The smell was overwhelming. "Who had access to this cabinet?" Mercer asked. "Just maintenance and the caretaker," Wilson replied. "It's where we keep the stronger cleaning supplies. Stuff we don't want residents getting into." Mercer nodded, jotting notes in her small black notebook. "And the caretaker is?" "Howard Raines. Been here longer than anyone, 25 years at least. Lives in 1A. I'll need to speak with him." Wilson shifted uncomfortably. "He's up in his apartment. Hasn't said much since, you know." As they moved away from the cabinet, forensic technician Sandra Reeves approached, snapping off latex gloves. "Victim appears to be female, mid-30s, Reeves said quietly. "Wrapped in what looks like a janitor's uniform. Decomposition suggests she's been here at least 6 months. Any ID?" Mercer asked. "Nothing yet. Dr. Campbell will know more after the autopsy, but I don't think identification will be easy given the state of decomposition." "Time of death?" "Preliminary guess. Between 6 and 8 months ago. But that's just an estimate." Mercer's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. "Thanks, Sandy. Keep me posted." Upstairs, Building 12 hummed with the nervous energy that always followed a discovery like this. Residents clustered in the hallway, whispering among themselves. Some looked fearful, others merely curious. All conversation stopped when Mercer approached. "Excuse me," she said, moving through the small crowd toward apartment 1A. She knocked firmly on the door. After a long moment, it opened to reveal a thin, stooped man with wispy gray hair. His eyes, magnified behind thick glasses, darted nervously from Mercer to the uniformed officer beside her. "Mr. Raines?" Mercer held up her badge. "Detective Elaine Mercer, Trenton PD. I need to ask you some questions about the discovery in the basement." Howard Raines nodded slowly, stepping back to allow them entry. His apartment was meticulously organized, if somewhat dated. Faded floral furniture, wood-paneled walls, and shelves lined with VHS tapes gave the impression of a space frozen in time. I've been the caretaker here for 27 years, he said before Mercer could ask her first question. His voice was soft but steady. Never had anything like this happen before. You have access to the storage cabinet in the laundry room? Mercer asked, remaining standing as Howard lowered himself into a worn recliner. Yes, of course. All the maintenance supplies are kept there. Chemicals mostly. When was the last time you accessed it? Howard frowned, his forehead crinkling with concentration. Maybe 2 months ago. We got a shipment of drain cleaner. I put it away myself. And you didn't notice anything unusual then? No smell. Nothing, he said firmly. That cabinet was secure, detective. I check it regularly. Mercer studied him carefully. His hands, resting on the arms of the chair, were steady. He met her gaze without flinching. We'll need a list of everyone with access to the basement, she said finally. That's easy. All residents have access. The laundry's down there. And the cabinet keys? Only maintenance and myself. A uniformed officer appeared in the doorway, gesturing for Mercer. She excused herself and stepped into the hall. We may have an ID on our victim, the officer said, keeping his voice low. Building manager's been going through records. A tenant named Marina Ellis disappeared about 8 months ago. Lived in 3C. Nobody reported her missing because she had a history of skipping out on rent, moving suddenly. Mercer processed this. Any connection to our caretaker? That's the thing. She filed a complaint against him a few weeks before she vanished. Said he was harassing her, entering her apartment without permission. Mercer's eyes narrowed. Get me that complaint. And I want officers going door to door. Someone must have seen something. Back inside, Howard was organizing a stack of papers on his coffee table. These are the maintenance logs for the past year, he explained. Shows when the cabinet was accessed and by whom. I keep meticulous records. Thank you, Mr. Raines, Mercer said. Do you recognize the name Marina Ellis? Howard's hand paused momentarily over the papers. Unit 3C. Yes, I remember her. Troubled young woman. Always behind on rent, always causing problems. What kind of problems? Noisy. Confrontational. Made accusations. Accusations? Howard sighed, removing his glasses to clean them with the hem of his sweater. She claimed I entered her apartment without permission. Completely false. I always follow protocol. And when was the last time you saw her? I couldn't say exactly. People come and go here all the time. I assumed she'd moved on, like she'd done before. Mercer nodded, making a note. We'll need to take a look around your apartment, Mr. Raines. Standard procedure. Of course. Howard replaced his glasses. Whatever you need. The search revealed nothing immediately suspicious. Howard's apartment was clean and orderly, if cluttered with decades of accumulated possessions. The officers methodically worked through each room while Mercer continued questioning the caretaker. These tapes, she gestured to the shelves of VHS cassettes. What are they? Old movies mostly, Howard replied. I'm something of a collector. In the bedroom, Officer Jenkins called out. Detective? You might want to see this. Mercer excused herself and found Jenkins standing beside an open closet. Inside, neatly arranged in rows, were dozens of labeled VHS tapes. Unlike the commercially produced movies in the living room, these had handwritten labels with dates and apartment numbers. What are these, Mr. Raines? Mercer asked as Howard appeared in the doorway. Security footage, he answered without hesitation. I've had cameras installed throughout the building for years. Management knows about it. It's for everyone's protection. And these tapes? Mercer picked one up. The label read, 3C, March 15th to 21st. I keep records of any suspicious activity. Marina had several complaints against her from other tenants. I was building documentation. Mercer handed the tape to Jenkins. We'll need to take these for review. Howard nodded stiffly. Of course. But you'll find nothing improper. I've always followed protocol. As the search continued, Officer Ramirez discovered another concerning item, a leather-bound notebook hidden behind the VHS collection. Inside were detailed entries about various tenants. Mr. Raines, Mercer said, flipping through the pages, can you explain this? Howard's face remained impassive. Part of my job is monitoring building security. I note unusual patterns, suspicious behaviors. Mercer read aloud, 302, Tuesday 11:30 p.m., asleep, no reaction to hallway test. What exactly is a hallway test? Sometimes I create small disturbances to check response times. In case of emergency, we need to know if tenants can hear alarms. The explanations continued, each one plausible on the surface yet increasingly disturbing in their implications. By evening, Mercer had enough to bring Howard in for further questioning. As officers escorted him from the building, residents watched from doorways and windows, whispering among themselves. One elderly woman approached Mercer as she was leaving. Marina was a good girl, she said quietly. She was trying to organize us, you know. Getting people to speak up about conditions here. Howard didn't like that. Did you ever see them interact? Mercer asked. The woman nodded. They argued, right out there. She pointed to the hallway. She said she had proof he was spying on people. Said she was going to the housing authority. When was this? Couple days before she disappeared. None of us thought much of it then. People come and go here all the time. At the station, forensic technicians began the painstaking process of reviewing Howard's tapes. Most contained what appeared to be legitimate security footage of hallways and public areas. But several showed interior shots of apartments, including Marina's. He had cameras hidden inside units, Mercer told her captain, disgust evident in her voice. We found one tape showing Marina confronting him outside her door. The date stamp matches 4 days before neighbors say she disappeared. What about the body? Captain Reynolds asked. Can we definitely say it's Ellis? Dental records are being checked now. But the timing fits, and the body was wrapped in a janitor's uniform identical to the ones Raines wears. Reynolds sighed. Motive? Control, most likely. Ellis was organizing other tenants, filing complaints. Raines had been there nearly 30 years without anyone questioning his authority. She threatened that. Keep digging. If he killed her, I want this case airtight. The forensic examination yielded damning evidence. Fibers from Howard's apartment matched those found with the body. DNA testing confirmed the victim was indeed Marina Ellis. Most disturbing was the discovery of a hidden compartment in Howard's closet, containing master keys to every apartment in the building. When confronted with the evidence, Howard maintained his innocence. Marina was unstable, he insisted. She made threats. Yes, I monitored her, for the safety of other residents. And the uniform she was wrapped in? Mercer asked. The one identical to yours? We all have access to the supply room. Anyone could have taken it. Despite his denials, Howard was charged with unlawful surveillance, abuse of authority, and second-degree murder. The case against him seemed solid. But at trial, things began to unravel. Defense attorneys painted Marina as mentally unstable, pointing to previous encounters with law enforcement and a history of making unfounded accusations. Several tenants testified that she had threatened Howard publicly. Most damaging was the testimony of the building manager, who admitted authorizing Howard's security measures years earlier, including limited surveillance of problem tenants. While this didn't explain the hidden cameras in private apartments, it cast enough doubt on the prosecution's narrative of a rogue caretaker acting without oversight. After 6 days of deliberation, the jury returned deadlocked. The judge declared a mistrial. Howard was released on bail pending a new trial. 6 months later, before prosecutors could rebuild their case, he died of a stroke in his sister's home in Pennsylvania. For most involved, the case faded from memory. But Mercer couldn't let it go. Something about Howard's meticulous record-keeping, his careful documentation of tenant behaviors, suggested a pattern going back decades. "You're obsessing," her partner, Detective Marcus Wells, told her one night as they reviewed the case files yet again. "The guy's dead. Case closed." "Not for Marina Ellis," Mercer replied. And what if she wasn't the first? Weeks turned to months. Mercer continued investigating in her spare time, tracking down former tenants, examining decades of building records. She discovered 3 other female residents who had disappeared under similar circumstances, all after filing complaints against Howard, all dismissed as voluntary departures. Then came the break she'd been waiting for. A tenant renovating Unit 3A, Marina's old apartment, discovered a hidden crawlspace behind a false panel. Inside were items Howard had apparently stashed: another janitor's uniform, a stack of eviction notices with forged signatures, and most disturbing of all, a child's drawing showing what appeared to be a man with keys standing over a woman in a laundry room. The drawing bore the name, Tina Jenkins, in childish scrawl. Records showed that Tina, then 8 years old, had lived in Building 12 with her mother in 1997. They had moved out suddenly, with no forwarding address. Mercer tracked Tina down, now an adult living in Ohio. "I always knew something bad happened there," Tina said when Mercer called. "Mom never talked about why we left so suddenly. Just said we had to go, right now, in the middle of the night." "And the drawing? Do you remember making it?" "I remember seeing something. In the laundry room. A man dragging something heavy. I was supposed to be in bed, but I'd followed Mom downstairs because I was scared of being alone. I hid behind the vending machine." "Did you tell your mother what you saw?" "I tried, but she didn't believe me. Then a few days later, I found Mr. Howard going through our mail. When I told Mom, she packed us up that same night." The case was officially closed without conviction. Howard Raines went to his grave maintaining his innocence. But the legacy of his actions transformed Building 12. Residents, long intimidated into silence, began speaking out about conditions in the complex. Security cameras were installed, legitimate ones this time, with proper oversight. And on the side of Building 12, local artists created a mural depicting a woman holding a ring of keys, her eyes wide open. Beneath it, a simple phrase: "Silence protects the wrong people." No one uses the laundry room anymore. Even when their machines break. The residents of Building 12 walk 6 blocks to the nearest laundromat rather than descend those concrete stairs. Detective Mercer still drives by occasionally, gazing up at the mural. She keeps Marina's file in her desk drawer, along with notes on the other women who disappeared. The case may be closed officially, but questions remain. How many others were there before Marina found her voice? How many might there have been after, if she hadn't spoken up? And what secrets might still be hidden behind the walls of Building 12, waiting for someone brave enough, or desperate enough, to look? Sometimes, late at night, Mercer finds herself wondering about the keys. Howard had a ring for every lock, every door, every barrier meant to keep residents safe in their own homes. The ultimate invasion of privacy, the ability to enter anyone's space at will, to watch, to control, to take. Power, she thinks, comes in many forms. For Howard Raines, it came in the form of metal keys and VHS tapes, in carefully documented observations and midnight, hallway tests. In knowing which tenants were heavy sleepers, which took medication, which had no family to miss them if they suddenly disappeared. The new caretaker at Building 12 wears a digital keycard now instead of a jangling ring of keys. Cameras monitor public spaces with feeds accessible to all residents through a special app. Locks have been changed, security upgraded. But sometimes, residents still report hearing footsteps in the hallway late at night. Soft, Deliberate steps that pause outside each door, as if someone is listening, testing, documenting who might react and who might sleep through the sound of their doorknob slowly turning. Marina's case was closed without conviction. But a mural now covers the side of Building 12, a painted outline of a woman holding a ring of keys, her eyes wide open. And beside it, appearing mysteriously years after the original mural was completed, a small addition, a child's drawing of a man with keys, standing in a laundry room. No one knows who added it. No one admits to seeing it happen. Some secrets refuse to stay buried, no matter how deep the foundation.